Very good evening, everyone. This is Rajendran here, joining from Market Calls, and welcome everyone to Python for Traders course. So it is going to be a 4-part series. So where we're going to discuss about the very basic of Python programming, particularly from a trading perspective, is what we're going to cover this particular program. So mostly this program is mostly for the beginners who want to learn Python, and probably Python coders already who are well versed with Python. They want to get more knowledge about probably from a trading perspective. They want to get some ideas about Python. So in that case, this program will be highly you can expect more details and insights about the Python coding from a trading perspective. So without further delay, let's quickly kickstart with the session. Little bit about me. My name is Rajendran. I've been trading this market since 2006 onwards. And I've been writing about markets, various trading platform, trading softwares. I had published various open source models, particularly trading strategies and indicators, primarily in AMI Broker. I published in TradingView. I also publishing in Python as well. And I also trainer since 2013 onwards. So most of my expertise is in concepts like market profile, order flow analytics, volume spread analysis, AMI broker AFL programming, mostly designing trading systems, building algorithmic trading models, and trading with PineScript programming and Python programming. So these are my core expertise. Now, coming back to today's content. So in today's content, as I said, the primary goal of this session is to learn the Python basics. So in today's session, we're going to learn the very basics of Python programming. We're going to learn the basic syntax, variables, data types, and we're going to learn about the control structures. We're going to learn about the function and libraries. So that will equip you in moving towards the next level of Python programming. And talking about Python programming, right? So obviously you need to install Python environment. So this is the environment which I am using. So first of all, you have to install Python from the python.org/downloads. And you have to install the VS Code. So throughout the series, I'm going to use VS Code. And some places, if it is required, I'll also use Google Collaboratory. And yeah, you have to install the Python, Pylons, and Jupyter extensions. Maybe I also given a document about that. So if you go to the course section, under the course builder, if you scroll it down, you will be able to see under the resources section, you'll be able to see the install Python and Visual Studio Code Editor guidelines. So you can go through the guideline, and it's more of an PDF file. So you can scroll through the PDF file, and you'll be able to install the Python guidelines. So you can install it in your PC or probably from your Mac. You can easily install it. Now, once the installation is done, right? In my case, it has been installed. You are good to start your Python coding. Now, first of all, let me tell you why to learn Python. See, one of the primary reasons why a trader or an investor has to learn Python is you can do data analysis very easily. Even complex task in if at all you're having a very complex task, it can be easily achieved by using Python. Recently, Python is getting popular because of the algorithmic trading. Not only that, if you have any boring job, you can easily automate using Python. One of the beautiful thing about Python is like you can visualize the data. So you can do data visualization, you can plot a chart, you can plot candlestick charts, you can plot indicators, you can plot Renko, point and figure, any kind of charts you can easily plot. Not only that, even there are a lot of charting styles, right? Gauge chart or an scatter plot chart. So various different styles of chart. A lot of charting libraries are available at free of cost. Easily, you can do the data visualization. So you can do web scraping, and machine learning is Python is one of the most popular tool for machine learning. So if you want to learn machine learning, then Python knowledge is very much important. And machine learning in trading itself quite a popular concept when it comes to financial markets. And you can do risk management, you can do backtesting, you can build the trading strategies, you can optimize your trading strategies, right? You can integrate with various brokers. Now, these days, various brokers, they also offer Python libraries to perform automated trading. So that is possible. And one interesting thing about Python is like Python has a very big community and very strong resources. So you have a large active trading and financial communities there. And you will have access to the numerous resources and forum libraries. A lot more forums, they talk about Python. So Python is something not new. Python has been introduced back in 1991, right? And Python recently developed with two versions, Python 2.0 and Python 2.x and Python 3.x. Right now, Python 3.x is what quite popular. So it is highly recommended that you download Python 3.x version. Python 3 has been introduced back in 2008, right? Right now, the current version is 3.12. However, in my case, I've been using Python 3.11. So maybe if you are downloading recently in the probably if you are downloading today, you might end up downloading either 3.11 or 3.12 is what you might be end up downloading. And the Python 3.13 itself likely to get released probably around October 2024. So if in case if you want to check the Python prompt, which version of Python that you are using, you can open your command prompt. I'm going to show you. I'm going to open my command prompt over here. And I'm going to say Python -- version. So if you're going to say that, automatically you will get to know what version of Python that you're using. So if you're getting this, that means your Python is working in your machine. And you just simply type Python. So you'll be able to get into the Python console. So automatically from here, you'll be able to start coding, but that is kind of a boring way. The easiest way to learn Python programming is having some sort of a Python IDE. IDE means Integrated Development Environment. Most of the most of the developers, they'll be using some sort of an IDE here. So these are the three popular IDEs. So you can use either VS Code. VS Code means Visual Studio Code from Microsoft, and PyCharm, a Spider. So these are the most important IDEs most of the developers are using. In my case, I'm going to use the Microsoft VS Code. And there are also a cloud-based environment. You can directly go and use the Jupyter Notebook, Python Jupyter Notebook, you can directly use, and you can go and do programming. These platforms, Google Colab, Kaggle, Watson, IBM Watson Studio, are quite popular mostly among the data science and machine learning community. It is also quite popular among the trading community also. So maybe I'll show you how the Google Colab looks like. So this is how the Google Colab looks like. So you can go to colab.research.google.com. Automatically, you can open a Python notebook. So basically, this is nothing but a Jupyter notebook. So where you don't need to install any software directly, you'll be able to access the Python from the cloud, right? So you can directly start writing programming. So probably I can write a Python programming. It is, let's say, like Python for traders, right? And it looks like a cell. So basically, that is how the Jupyter notebook looks like. And I'll be able to execute it. And why Google research is quite popular is like, it is because like they will give access to GPUs and CPUs. So basically machine learning and all requires a lot of huge complex computations. So there people will be using mostly GPUs instead of CPUs, right? Most of our machines support CPUs, right? So for machine learning kind of stuff, if you want to do, you have to use GPUs. So you can go and change the type of where you want to execute. You can go and change the runtime, and you can say whether you want to execute your code in CPU or you want to execute in GPUs, right? So that you can decide, and then based on that, you can execute it. So maybe if you want more computational power, then people will be switching towards the GPUs. All right, so likewise, you can code in multiple cells. You can code. That is how the notebooks will look like. So notebooks are quite popular, particularly among the beginners. So if you're a beginner, it's highly recommended that you use Jupyter Notebook so that you'll be able to learn the Python programming very easily. Directly also, you can code the Python programming. But if you're a beginner, it's highly recommended that you use the Jupyter Notebook. So notice the word Jupyter, Jupyter. So here, the keyword Jupyter means, so it basically supports three languages, not only Python. So the JU represents Julia. So Julia is another Python program. I mean, it's kind of another interesting programming language, which is mostly popular among the data science community. And then PY stands for Python. And then R stands for, there's something called R programming. Right, so Julia, Python, and R. So you can execute in this particular Jupyter notebook. So that is why it is called as Jupyter. So basically, Python is quite popular for libraries. So we use a command called pip to install the library. So if in case, I'll show you how we'll be installing the library. So we're using the pip command, we can install the library. A lot of libraries we can access. Some of the popular libraries are like NumPy, SciPy, and Y Finance for getting the data from Yahoo. Yahoo, if in case if I want to get Nifty data or Bank Nifty data, or maybe US market data, if I want to get, I'll be using Yahoo Finance to get the historical data, and also 1 minute chart, daily chart, I'll be able to get from Yahoo Finance. So if in case if I want to install, I'll go to my command line, or maybe I'll go to my terminal, and then I'll type pip install Y Finance. A lot of libraries are there when it comes to Python. So in my case, it's already installed. So it is saying like a requirement already satisfied. So if in case if you are installing for the first time, it will get installed in your machine. Right. So pip is kind of a downloader. It will download the library, and later on you'll be able to use in your Python coding. So you have to have some knowledge on basic pip commands. So pip install Y Finance. So sometimes you may have to upgrade the library. So pip install -upgrade Y Finance. So that will be upgrading my existing library to the recent version. And pip list will be giving me idea about what are the list of libraries that I had installed. So maybe I'll show you. I'll go to the command prompt. Then I'll say pip list. Okay, so ensure that Python is installed. Ensure that pip is installed. By default, when you're installing Python, pip will get automatically installed. Right, so ensure that if you run some basic pip commands, you should get the library automatically getting installed in your machine. So these are the very basic requirements to kickstart your programming. So once these are set, you are good to go with your live coding. All right, first we'll try to understand some of the basic functions over here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and launch my VS Code here. So let me pull up my VS Code. So here is my Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to go to File and New File. Okay, I'm going to launch my Python file. So I'm going to directly write a simple Python file is what I'm going to write here. Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm going to write a simple multiplication is what I'm going to write here. I'm going to say A equal to 10 and B equal to 20. And then print, I'll say like A multiply by B is what I'm going to write. I'm going to print. So basically this program, what it does is like, it does a basic multiplication is what it's going to do. And also, I'm also going to write another print over here. So print equal to, so I'm going to give some text content. So any text content we will be enclosing with a double quotation. So I'll put a double quotation over here. I'll say like a simple hello world is what I'm going to write. Hello world. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to save the code, Control S. So I'm going to put it in a separate folder here. I'll go to my documents. I'll go to my folder Python for traders. Now inside here, I'm going to create a folder name. I'll say like Python for traders, document 1, I mean part 1, Python for traders, part 1. So any code that we are doing today, it will be automatically uploaded in the portal. By end of the day, you'll be able to see that all these files will be uploaded to the portal here. So I'll go to Python for traders, and then I'll save this as my first Python file, Python program. Okay, so it will be stored under the .py extension. So we have a Python file, right? So each and every line is called as a statement. Now here, if you could see here, the value A represents a variable. So basically A is nothing but what? A equal to 10, what we are having. So the A here is nothing but a variable. The variable is used to store the data. So here we are using a equal to 10 means we are storing 10 over here. Likewise, b is the variable here. So b is the variable. Under b we are storing 20 is what we are storing. Now next comes the print function. So this is called as a function. So the print here. So print of a multiplied by b, right? So the print is called as a function. So the function does what? It executes a set of rules. It executes a set of rules. So probably it does a certain function here. So maybe something will be, it will be doing some certain calculations. Sometimes it will be plotting some values. Sometimes it might be doing some mathematical calculations. So each and every function, a lot of functions are there. So some of them are we called as an inbuilt function. So this is one of the inbuilt function. This is the function which is supported by the Python itself. It's called as an inbuilt function. And inside the function, we'll be passing the parameters. So you can see that the A and B, this A and B is what we call it as the arguments. Arguments. Okay. So inside the function, we pass the arguments. You know what a function does, right? A function takes an input and it gives an output. That's what a function does. Let's say I'm just giving a simple example here. Let's say I'm having an add function. Add is a function here. Inside the function, I am sending two arguments. Let's say I'm sending 10, I'm just sending 20. So two inputs I'm sending over here. So that is nothing but arguments. I'm passing the arguments. Let's call that as argument 1 and argument 2. Okay. So the job of the function is to compute 10 plus 20 and then it throws the output. So the output, what I'll be getting is the 30 over here. Now, this is what the output is what we called as a return value. The output is what we called as a return value. Return value. Okay. So that is what a function does. Of course, it's hello world. So now I'm going to execute this function. So once you save the file name, I'm going to go to run and I'm going to start debugging. Okay. So what it does is like it start executing the code and probably I'll be start getting the output over here. You can see that I'm just getting the output. So I'm just getting the output 200. I'm just getting the output hello world over here. Now, probably I know this is kind of a dull, boring computer programming language. So we'll try to make it interesting. So whatever we'll try to do from here, we'll try to use the stock market information from here on. So that we'll side by side, we'll also learn also. And we'll also make things interesting as well. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to use the regular Python programming over here for executing the code from here on. From here on, instead, I'm going to use the Jupyter notebook. And the VS Code itself by default supports the Jupyter notebook. So you can launch the Jupyter notebook by going to File, New File. From here, you go and select the Jupyter notebook. Okay. So when you're installing the VS Code, by default, you may not get it. You may have to install the extension. So you go to the extension here. From here, you have to install the couple of important extension. You have to install it. So I'll tell you which are the extension that you have to install. So you have to install the extension like Jupyter Notebook. You have to install, obviously, and you have to install Pylons and you have to install Python. So these are the three important extension that you have to install so that you'll be able to access the Python Jupyter Notebook in your codings. Now, once the installation is done, right, now you'll be able to launch your Python notebook. Here, I'm going to write a very simple code. So let's say I'm going to say like stock name equal to, I'm just going to give Reliance over here. And followed by that, I'm going to have a price. Let's say I'm going to say the price equal to, I'm going to give a variable. So stock, I'm storing a text content. That is what we call as a string. And price, I'm going to give, let's say, I'm going to give something like 1640 or 2640 is what I'm going to make it. 2640. Okay. So what I am trying to do here is I'm trying to store the stock also. I'm trying to store the price also over here. So obviously we can, I'm going to close the terminal here. So you can see that this is called as a terminal. I'm going to close it. If at all you want to get the terminal, you can always go and get the terminal over here. Now in this terminal also, you can directly go and install the, let's say if in case we want to install any library, you can go and directly install the library from here, like one Y Finance. You can go and install the library from here also, right? As I said, in my case, already the Y Finance library has been already installed. So for time being, I don't need a library. So I'm going to close the library here. So we're going to work only with the cells over here. Now, what I'm going to do here is like, I'm also parallelly going to have something called markdown. So you can see that I'm going to click on markdown. When I click on the markdown, it opens a cell over here. I'm going to write Python basics. Now, these are not computer rules, right? They are not statements. So they are just plain vanilla text content. So it will help me what I am trying to write. So it's kind of a commenting kind of system where it tells you like what exactly this code is all about, right? I'll just click on the stick mark so that it becomes the markdown over here. Markdown means it's basically some text instructions. I can keep it over there. If I don't want a cell, I can simply click on the delete cell. That goes away. So I'm just, my first coding is like, I'm just going to print the reliance. So I'm going to print the stock, and also I'm going to print the price over here. Okay. So if I want to execute only this block of code, so there is a small play button is here. So if I click on the play button, it will execute the program and it will do the computation. So before that, I have to select the Python environment. So once I'm done with that, it asks me to select which version of Python that you want to execute. So I'm going to select my recent version itself. My recent version is Python 3.11. So I'm going to click on that. So automatically, the code will get executed and I'll be getting the output. So probably I'll be getting the output over here. Okay. So what we done is like we initialized two variables, right? So as simply stock and price is the two variables. So we are just simply printing those things. Now, if I want, I can also add a comment to the program. So I can add some text comment, say like print the. So if I put a hash in front of that, it will not become part of the program, but I can write a simple comment. Anywhere I'll be writing a commenting to explain what I am trying to do in the code, right? It is not a computer instruction, but just an understanding what we are trying to do in this particular coding block. So I'll say like print the stock name and price. And price, that is what I'm going to do over here. All right. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to open a new cell over here. So if I want to open a new cell, I can just click on code. So you can see that there is a code is here. You can simply add to the code over here. Now, what I am going to do here is, once again, I'm going to print the same reliance and stock price only, but I'm going to use something called F string formatting. So let's try to learn what is the meaning of the F string formatting is all about. So listen here. I'm going to use the same print function, but I'm going to say with an F quotation, I'm using the value F in the front, and I'm going to put the string. You can initialize the string using a single quotation, or you can use a double quotation also. Both will be, you will be able to print a text content over here. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say the name of the stock is, so here I want to print the value of reliance over here. So I'll say within a parenthesis, I'm going to open a parenthesis. This is called as placeholder. Inside the placeholder, I'm going to type stock over here. And then the price is, I'm going to print the variable of the price. So price. You see here, this is the value of stock. Stock is nothing but we are storing the reliance value, and under the price, we are storing 2640. Right. So what I am trying to do here is I'm putting a F string over here. So F string is totally introduced, I think somewhere back around 2015 or 14 is what it got introduced. It's a kind of a new concept. Using that, we can easily print values. Previously, printing values are slightly, you have to struggle a little bit, but now after the F string formatting, when you're giving an F string, it automatically understands that wherever you're putting that open parenthesis, a flower bracket that you're using, inside that, if you're putting the variable value, when I try to execute that, you can automatically see that the name of the stock is Reliance and the price is 2640. right? Easily, you'll be able to print using the f-string formatting. Now, let's move a little forward. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a couple of some more ideas about f-string formatting so that you'll get a pretty good idea about how to use f-string formatting in your codes. So let's say I'm going to define another variable called pi. So pi equal to, I'm going to say 22 bar 7, right? You know that the pi value of 22 bar 7. I can directly print the value without using the print function in Jupyter Notebook by just simply saying the variable name. So here I'm calculating and directly I'm just printing the value over here. So that is how the Jupyter Notebook works. This will not work the same way in actual Python code. Okay, in Jupyter Notebook, that is totally possible. So if I execute this, you can see that it is having a 3.1428 with a lot of digits are there. Maybe I want to narrow down with, I want only some, let's say, next 3 digits only I need. Now, in that case, what I can do here is I'll open another code and I'm going to use the print function over here. I'll open with an f-string formatting. As I said, I can put a single quotation also. I can use a double quotation also. All right. So I'm going to use a single quotation itself. I'm going to say the value of the pi is, so I'm going to listen carefully here. I'm going to open the parenthesis. I'm going to open the placeholder. I'm going to say, I want to print the pi value, but I want to say, I'm going to put a colon over here. So this colon here, it says how you want to format the data. So I'm going to say after the decimals, I want only 3 digits in a floating point. Floating means decimals, like 10.43, 3.1428, something like that. So I'm going to write it to 3 decimals only. So if I try to print this, now we can see that the value is getting printed as 3.143. Now you might be wondering, why it is 3.143? It should be supposed to be 3.142, right? Why it is getting like 3.143? So what is actually getting is like, it is automatically rounded to the nearest value, right? It automatically not only adjusting to the 3 decimals, it is also rounding off to the nearest value. All right. So that is what it is happening in this code. So now what I'm going to do here is like, we had learned how to assign a variable. So now we're going to assign multiple variables in one shot. That's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to use a markdown. I'm going to say star assign multiple values. You know, right? The star here means I want to put it in a bold format. That's what it means. So I just simply put a tick on that. So automatically it becomes a bold value. So now what I'm going to do here is like, I'm going to open a new code. I'm going to type, so stock1, stock2, stock3 equal to, so I'm going to give some 3 stock name is what I'm going to give here. Let's say Reliance, let's say TCS, let's say Infi. So these are the 3 stock. I'm going to save it under 3 different variables. So what this will do is like stock 1 will be equal to Reliance, stock 2 will be equal to TCS, and stock 2 will be equal to Infi. So I'm going to print those, all the stock I'm going to print here. Stock 1 I'm going to print. So see here, I'm not using a double quotation over here because I'm directly printing the value over here, right? So whenever I'm directly printing the value, I can directly use the variable name here. So likewise, I'm just printing the stock 2, and I want to print the stock 3 as well. Stock 3. Okay. You can see that all the 3 stocks are getting printed over here. Now, let's go back a little and learn some basics about the data types. So Python supports a lot of various data types. So one of the most important one is the integer. So integer is nothing but a number. I can store number a equal to 10, b equal to -42. Whereas when it comes to float, it represents real numbers with decimal values, right? So something like 3.1428, that is what we had seen in case of pi, or it also represents a negative number also. Both integer and float supports positive and negative numbers, but the only difference with the integer is like integer numbers are whole numbers without any decimals, whereas float numbers are with decimals. And when it comes to variables, I'll be able to store the variable here. So you can see that a lot of examples about the variable here. Trader name equal to John Doe. I can store a text content and account balance equal to 50,000 and trading symbol equal to Apple and stock price is equal to 150.25. Right? I can not only do assign variables for only for storing purpose, I can also do calculations also. I can perform calculations also. I can say like shares underscore 2 underscore buy. You can see that at the bottom, I can see that shares underscore 2 underscore buy equal to account balance divided by the stock price. Or I can also say like remaining balance equal to account balance minus share price, share to buy multiplied by the stock price. So I can even perform calculation, and whatever the calculation I performed, I can store that values to the variable here. All right. So variable, we can directly store the value, or we can do some calculation. And after doing the calculation, whatever the calculation output that I'm getting, that output I can store it to the variables over here. So generally we use variables to store, manipulate, and retrieve data within the program. So we also have other variables like string, very popular one. Usually it will be enclosed in single or double quotes. We already seen some couple of examples on that. We've seen single quotation, we've seen double quotation. We also see F string formatting also. And we also have a very interesting variable called Boolean. So Boolean output is either true or false, kind of more binary way it is, right? So we'll be using either true or false. And mostly we'll be using for logical operation. For example, when I say if RSI is greater than 80, the output is what? Either true or false. Either the RSI value can be above 30 or RSI value can be below 30. Or RSI value can be above 80 or below 80. So that way we can do some conditional operation. The conditional operation is always Boolean. Whenever we are trying to check a condition, let's say if the candle is closing above the Bollinger Band or not, right? It is going to be, the output is going to be either true or false. So that data type is what we can store it into the Boolean. Now, coming back to the topic here, we also have conditional operators. So we can check whether two values are equal or not. We can check whether two values are not equal or not. And we can check whether the value is equal or not, whether less than or not, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. We can also have an AND condition, OR condition, and NOT condition. Let's say something like an AND condition, I can use like when RSI is greater than 70 and MACD are also greater than 40. So those kind of places, AND condition will be very much useful. OR condition will be useful. Let's say I want to exit my trade if my target is hit or stop loss is hit. In that case, either stop loss is hit also I want to exit, or if the target is hit also I want to exit. In that case, I'll be using the OR condition over here. And NOT condition, particularly if I want to make a true to false or a false to true, we'll be using the NOT condition over here. Maybe I'll try to explain this with a very simple example. So I'm going to save this code. So this is an IPython notebook. So it will be stored under the IPynb extension. Okay. So Python file will be ending with .py extension, whereas IPython file will be ending with a .pynb extension. So let's say I'm going to store this as my Python basics. That's what I'm going to store here. All right. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write a very simple conditional operation is what I'm going to write here. So I'll go to the code. And before the code, right, I want to have a markdown. I'll say like star. I'm going to write something called a loop. So I mean, kind of a code block using if-else statement. So I'm going to say, let's say stock 1 equal to, or I'll say like price 1 equal to 1000 and price 2 equal to 1500. So I'm going to write a simple code block over here using a if loop over here. I'm going to say if price 1 is greater than price 2, I'm going to put a colon over here. See that the colon represents, I'm going to write some code block. So here I'm just putting a simple condition. I'm checking a condition over here. So obviously, if it is a condition, means the output is going to be what? Either true or the output is going to be false. So if it is true, what I want to do, I'm going to write a code block. So the moment I'm going to write a code block, I will be putting a colon over here. Wherever I'm putting a colon, I'm going to write a code block. So a bunch of coding blocks is what I'm going to write. So here I'm going to write it in a very simple manner. One thing, if you notice, if I give an enter over here, it goes to the next line. Straight away, it goes to the next line. Whereas if I go and type enter over here, it immediately not going to next. It is going to the next line, but it also giving some space. So that is what it is called as indentation. Right? Indentation is required whenever you are starting a new code block. Right? So mostly whenever I'm using a if loop or an for loop, or when I'm writing a function, so I'll be giving a colon in the front, and next line I'll be starting with an indentation. Automatically, Python tool will give you the indentation. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to say like, I'm just going to simply print. I'm going to say print price one is greater than price 2. Okay. And likewise, I'm going to say else if it is false, I want to print a different one. Just simply want to print I'll say like price 2 is greater than price 1. Price 2 is greater than price 1. So what will get printed? Obviously, this condition returns what? True or false? If it is true, you just simply type T. If it is false, you just simply type F, so that I'll get a fair idea that you're also engaging with, actively are engaging with this coding. It's a false, right? Obviously, it is a false, right? So 1500 is the bigger number. So the if loop will not get executed. So automatically, it will go to the else loop. The else loop is what? Supposed to work out. So let's see whether it works or not. Now you can see that price 2 is greater than the price 1. So which is getting printed? Under the else block only, it is getting printed. Now I know it's a very simple example. The whole idea is to tell you how to write an if-else statement. Right? So when I'm writing an if, followed by that, I'll be writing a condition within a parenthesis. The output can be either true or false. Along with that, I'm using a block called with a colon, which indicates that the coding block is going to get started. And then I'm writing my coding block. So here the coding block is just only one-liner code. You can have as many lines you want, right? That is going to be considered as a one block of coding. If it is true, the if block will get executed. Otherwise, it goes to the else when the condition is false. So if this condition is false, automatically it goes to the else. So else also I'm putting a colon over here. And I'm just writing my coding block over here. Right? All right. So we move little forward. That is how the if-else statement works. Maybe I show you a couple of if-else statement. A lot of condition I thought like I'll show you. So I have some sample file here with a lot of conditions. That is called as conditional structures. Anyways, this conditional structure also I'll add it. So here we can check if E equals Y means we're checking whether the value is equal or not. So there are two things that you have to understand over here. One is if I am saying X equal to 10, what I am trying to say here, X equal to 10. So I am trying to save the 10 value in the X variable, right? So here I'm storing X equal to 10. That means I'm assigning the value. Here I'm assigning the value. Whereas in case of X equals Y, if I say X equal Y, I'm not assigning the value. It is more of a condition. I'm checking whether the value is equal or not, whether the X and Y value are equal or not. I'm just doing an equality check over here. Equality check. So the output is going to be what? Either true or false. This is more of a condition. I can write a condition without a parenthesis also. With parenthesis also I can write. So whichever the way it works in Python. I prefer writing with a with an parenthesis also we can write. Without parenthesis also we can write. So if I don't want to check whether it is not equal to, I can say x is not equal to y. Or if I want to check greater than, I can say x greater than y. In that case, x is greater than y will get printed. Or if it is yes, x is less than y, automatically x is less than y will get printed. So likewise, we can have all these type of variables we can use in the if-else loop. And I can also use a logical operator also, right? So here is a very simple example which shows that. Anyways, we'll explore those conditional values one by one. In fact, in tomorrow's session, we're going to use a lot. Tomorrow, we're going to play with NumPy and Pandas libraries, where we will be constructing various technical indicators also. So there we'll be learning a lot more concepts about the AND operations and OR operations. I'll try to come up with various examples on that. All right. So that will be the primer for building your trading strategies, by the way. So I'm going to save this code, file, save as. I'm going to put this code under Python for traders. So I'll go to the document folder. Under document folder, I'm having Python for traders here. Inside Python for traders, I'm going to store this conditional structures. So it contains all the examples for the greater than, less than, greater than or equal to. So all those conditional structures are there. Now, coming back to the Python basics, right? So what we're going to learn here is, let me go back to the slide here. So we learned about the conditional operators. We also learned about the if-else statement also. Now, we also learned about the F-string formatting, some of the F-string formatting basics that we have learned, right? There are a lot more F-string formatting is there. In fact, I have written a short tutorial on that. So maybe I'm going to show you where you can get that complete tutorial about that, particularly F-string formatting for traders. I have written that because F-string formatting is not a small theme. It's going to be a very elaborated one. So if in case you want to learn more about F-string formatting, so what I can guide you is like you can go and search in the, just go for market calls, F-string formatting, F-string formatting. So here you'll be able to get the tutorial over here. So I also explained from a trader's perspective, I had explained over here. So all these examples, almost given some 18 coding snippets. So probably how we can use those F-string formatting, what does it exactly means, how we can give different values, how to adjust to the decimals, how to get the local currency values, right? Percentage format and date time formatting, and all those things I had explained over here. So it is kind of an very deep knowledge you'll be getting about the basics about the F-string formatting over here. Anyways, side by side, we'll also learn some of the very interesting F-string formatting also in our sessions. Now, coming back to the topic. So what we are going to do here is like, I'm going to do I'll go back to the Python basics. Now we're going to implement or we're going to manipulate the string operations. We're going to learn some string operations over here. So I'll say markdown, and then I'm going to say like manipulate Python strings. Manipulate Python strings. Okay. I'll go and create a code. I'm going to say like the stock name, I'm going to say like stock equal to Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries. Now let's say if I'm going to say print, listen very carefully. This is something very interesting. And this is a very basic for doing string operations also. Let's say print stock of, if I'm going to say 9:19, what will happen here? 9:19. It will exactly try to get the 9th letter. So probably Reliance is like, let's say this is letter number 0, 1. If I start with the R, let's say I'll call that a 0. E is 1. L is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9th is nothing but what? It starts at I. And then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, up to 19th value. Obviously, it will print the industries. So if I try to print here, it starts from the 9th and it will end at the 19th character. If you see here, it end up with a Reliance Industries. If I give 18th, what will happen automatically? It will remove the last one. It will print only up to from industry only. The S will get missed over here, right? So I'll just give a 9 over here. Now, so this is what we call as a slicing. Here, if I give, let's say 2, what will happen? So this is what we call as a step. So if I'm going to give this, automatically you can see that 9 to 19, it will print industries, right? 9 to 19. 9 to 19, what will print? It will print industries. INDUSTRIES. But if I say 9 is to 19 is to 2, so that means it's called as a step. So first it will try to print the I, then it goes to 2 step, and then it prints the D. It goes to print again 2 step. That means 1 and 2. So that means it goes to the S and it prints the S. It goes to R, it prints the R, and it goes again. It skips 1 and then goes to the second step and it prints the E over here. So that is how the IDSRE gets printed over here. All right. Now, coming back to the topic over here, what I'm going to say is, I'm going to say something like print stock of 9 colon. If I'm going to say that, what I'm trying to say here is after 9, you print everything. That's what I'm trying to say here. That means what? It will again print industries. It will again print industries. If you could see here, it again prints the industries. So this is up to 9. So this is up to 9. So this is the 9th value. 9th value is the I. So after 9, whatever is there, completely, whatever the remaining characters are there, completely all the remaining characters will get printed over here. I can also say like print stock of :7. That means you print everything and stop at the 7th character. Now, in that case, what should be the output? Anybody? You can just type it out. What should be the output here? I'm just putting :7 over here. That means what? From the start, it should print 7 characters, right? So 7, this is R is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe I'll keep it as 8 so that it print the everything. Reliance, it will get printed over here. So let me execute over here. That means you can see that it prints Reliance over here, right? What I can also give here is, I can also say print the stock name, and then I want to say :-1. So if I give :-1, you know what happens over here? It prints everything except the last value. So if I say, I'll try to give an example over here. Let's say I'm having a word called data, DATA. So I can name this with an, I can give a number to that, 0, 1, 2, and 3. I can refer the string operations like this, or I can also give it in a reverse mode. This is -1, and this is -2, and this is -3, and this is -4. Now, what I'm trying to say here is like you print everything, you remove except the -1. So what is -1? -1 is A. So remove except A, you print everything. That's what I'm saying here. In our case, you remove the S and you print everything except the -1. So that is what it means. I can also completely reverse a string by using something called, using a very simple slicing mechanism. I'll say like stock of ::-1. So if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to put a double colon, you can see that it completely reverses the value. It's Reliance Industries in reverse mode it is, right? So this will do what? I can also write a comment side by side also. This will completely reverse the string, What this one will do, this will skip the last word, last letter, and print the rest. Print the rest. What this code will do? So anywhere I can write a comment. I can write above the code or below the code, or after the end of the statement, I can write the code. That is not going to impact the program. Okay. So what this code will do? This will print up to the eighth character. Up to the eighth character. So 0 to 8th character will get printed. So this will print after the 9th character. Starting from 9th character. Starting from the 9th character. So this will do what? This will print from character 9 to 19. Right. So what are the words I'm having from 9th letter to 19th letter? It will get printed over here. So this will also print the character from 9 to 19 with a step of 2. Means it will not print everything. It will just jump from one letter to another letter by jumping like 2 steps. Then it print those values. All right. So that is something to learn over here. Now what we can also do here is, I can also say, let's say something like print you can say like stock dot. There's a function called upper function. I'll tell you what this will do. This will completely convert the string into capital letters. Completely in upper characters. Automatically it convert that into upper characters over here. You can see that the Reliance Industries is automatically getting converted into the upper letters. Or if you want to convert completely into lower letters, you can use the function here called print lower. So these are like string operation functions, right? So stock is the variable name. Along with that, I'll put a dot and I'll say lower. So lower is a function, upper is a function over here. Upper will convert into an uppercase and lower will convert totally into a lowercase over here. Convert everything into a lowercase. You can see that it automatically, even the R and I, which is in capital letter, it got totally converted into a lower letters over here. Now this way we can easily do a simple Python manipulation string manipulation is what we can do. At times when it comes to writing some sort of an screening or something like that, you may have to do some string operations over here. Sometimes you may have to do it. For example, I'll tell you in what case the string operations will be highly important. Let's say if I am having a ticker symbol, let's say the ticker symbol is like, I'll say ticker equal to, maybe I'll just move it a little bit above here. I'll say ticker equal to, some cases you might see that my ticker will be something like this, Reliance.NSE or maybe Reliance.NS. So if you would have seen that, there might be sometimes you might be getting something like this, Reliance:NSE or something like that. Maybe in this case, you don't want that .NSE over here, right? So you want to skip that .NSE. Now in that case, what we can do? We can say, I'll say like the stock name. We want to extract only the stock name. So we have a stock name along with the exchange name. So I'll say stock equal to, I want to extract only the stock. In that case, what I should enter? How I will extract? Anybody? I'm going to give a minute of time. Just think for a moment and then try to say what I should type. Ticker of what I should type here. Ticker of colon. So what exactly I should type so that I will get only the Reliance part. So no matter what, it can be Reliance, it can be Infosys, it can be TCS. Think about it, it can be any stock. So the output should happen. No matter what, I'm going to use a simple operation over here. So Bharat is saying 8 colon. See, let me say, if I'm gonna say 8 colon, it might work for Reliance. So if I say like 8 colon, first of all, it may not be a right idea because it will start printing only from 8, right? So that is not a right output. So in that case, let's say I'm gonna print the stock. Let's say stock here. You can see that it is printing only the colon NSE, or it should be like up to colon 8. If this is also a good idea, if you ask me, definitely no. Why is it? It is printing Reliance, but tomorrow if I am going to use a different symbol over here, let's say I'm going to use a symbol like infi, then maybe I might not get the value. I'm just getting infi.nsc, but what I want is infi.nsc. So no matter what, I want to get the proper output. Maybe in that case, this is my -1, right? This is -1, -2, -3, -4. So I have to skip -4 here. Up to -4, I have to skip it out. So I'll say I want to print up to -4, right? So please stop around -4 so that if I try to do that, automatically I'll get infi. Maybe tomorrow, if this becomes, let's say, if this becomes Wipro, no matter what, I'll be able to skip the colon NSE part because I know that colon NSE is always going to be constant. If I know that, I can easily write a simple rule like this, and I can simply skip that colon NSE part. I can write only the Wipro part, right? Maybe even if it becomes Reliance also, let's say if it becomes Reliance, it will, no matter what, how much ever character I'm going to have, it totally skip the colon NSE and it just gets the Reliance as a output over here. Very interesting, right? So you may think it is what I'm going to learn with this kind of stuff, but when it comes to practical programming challenges, these kind of things, small things will be very, very helpful in implementing what you are thinking about that. All right, so now we move a little forward. Now what we're going to learn here is like, we're going to learn about some more interesting data types. So far, let me go back to the slide and then show you what are the data types that we had learned. We learned about 4 important data types: integer, float, and then we also learned about string. We also learned about Boolean operations. In fact, we also perform some of the Boolean operations also using conditional formatting, conditional structures. Now we're going to learn about more interesting data types. So one of the data types that we're going to learn is called as list. We're going to learn about tuple. And some people say tuple, some people pronounce tuple. So whichever the way you are pronouncing, that's fine. And then we have dictionaries, and then we have set, right? So mostly all the 4 data types are heavily used in stock markets. Let's see one by one as an example over here. So when it comes to list, so I'm going to start with a list here. So I'm going to start with an markdown. I'm going to say like Python list. So ** Python list. Okay. Simply go on. I'm going to create a new code block over here. So here I'm going to create a list. List is nothing but a data with multiple values. For example, I'll say a couple of tickers. So I'll say tickers equal to, I'm going to open with a square bracket. If I'm going to open with a square bracket, I'm going to give multiple values to that. I'm going to store multiple values in the form of list content over here. So something like, I'm going to say like Reliance with a comma separated. I'm going to give another value. I'm going to say like Wipro, right? Comma. I'll say like, let's say ICICI Bank, comma. I'm going to say like HDFC Bank over here. So in this list, we are having 4 values is what we are having. All the 4 values we are storing in a single variable is what we are storing over here. Right. So if I say, if I'm going to print, let's say if I'm going to print ticker, what will happen? Tickers, it is S along with that. If I print along with tickers, so obviously I'll be getting the list over here. Now, if I want to know what kind of the data type it is, I can simply use a type function over here. I can use a type function and I can pass the variable name. Let's say if I am passing the variable name as, let's say tickers, then automatically it will tell me what is the data type it is. So you can say that it is a list. Maybe if I say A equal to 20.12, and if I try to type A, Now what it will say? It will try to print the value, what kind of data type it is. Obviously, it should print what? Float, right? It should print float. Is it printing float here? Obviously, it is printing the float value over here. Right? So that kind of things you can able to do it. So in our case, we are trying to print the tickers. So it says like it is a list in this case. Now, like how I had used, let's say I'll also do one more important thing here. I'll go and add another print function, print. So here I want to extract only the reliance. Let's say I have in my ticker list, I'm having 4 symbols is what I'm having, but I want to extract only the reliance alone. I want to print only the reliance alone. Now in that case, what I'll do is like I'll say print, I'll say tickers of 0 is what I'll give. So 0th element is what I'm printing. So this is 0th element, and this is first element in the list, and this is a second element in the list, and this is a third element in the list. Right? So always when it comes to programming, right, they always count from 0 only. So this is 0th one, and first one, and second one, and third one. So if I say print of ticker of 0, automatically what should get printed? Reliance should get printed over here, right? So does it get printed over here? Obviously. Maybe I can also say I want a ticker of 0. If I try to print the type of ticker of 0, what should be the output here? Will it print the type as list, or will it print the type as a string? What do you think? You can just comment in the chat box. What do you think? What will get printed in the type? Sunny is saying string. Almost everybody is saying string. I'm also thinking so. Let's try to print it out. Let's say I'll just remove the sticker and then I'll try to print the type. Let's see what happens. Obviously, it is printing as a string only. Okay. So anyways, I'm just going to remove the type here, because if I'm going to have print function, it is not going to print those values. So if I'm going to have the ticker of 0, it is going to print me the ticker of 0 over here. Now, what we can also say here is I can say print of, like how we do the string manipulation, the same example applies to the list also. For example, let's say I'm going to say tickers of -1. What value get printed? Ticker of -1. Anybody? Obviously, HDFC Bank should get printed, right? If you are typed to HDFC Bank, then it's well and good that you are right. It is going to print the HDFC Bank over here. Now listen carefully. I'm going to print tickers of, let's say, :2 is what I'm going to say. So what value will get printed? Anybody? So :2 means what? 0 and 1. Up to that, it will not print the second one, but up to 2, it will get printed. 0 and 1 will get printed over here. Means in that case, it will print the value of Reliance also, Wipro also. You can see that Reliance and Wipro is getting printed as a list over here. Now from the list, it prints only the Reliance and Wipro over here. Right? I can also add data to the ticker. I can that is what we call as an appending the data. I can say like tickers dot append. So I'm going to use a function called append. Now this function, what I'm going to say, like I'm going to add a new symbol over here. I'm going to say like Tata Steel. Okay. So now if I try to print the tickers, say if I'm going to simply try to print the tickers, what you can see here is like I'll be having additional symbol added along with that. Reliance I'm having, Wipro I'm having, ICICI Bank I'm having, HDFC Bank I'm having. I'm also having Tata Steel along with that. Right? So instead of printing that, I just simply say print tickers. So that will print what? That will print Tata Steel along with that. Maybe I'll say tickers. And then I'll say, if I want to remove a certain value, I can do that by using a function called remove. I can say like I want to remove the element Pro from that. Now, if I print the same ticker, you can see that automatically the value Wipro will get removed from that. I'll keep everything in caps itself. So now if I try to execute this, we can see that when I try to add Tata Steel got added. Now, along with that, when I try to, next line, I'm trying to give an instruction that tickers.remove Wipro. So in that case, Wipro gets removed out. And I'm getting what? Reliance, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, and Tata Steel is what I'm having in the list over here. So thereby I can append the values. I can remove certain values from my list automatically. Right? So what I can also do here is, let's say one by one, I'm going to loop through one by one is what I'm going to loop through over here. So I'm going to use something called a for loop over here. For loop is a very interesting function. Let's say I'll go to the code. I'm going to say there's a thing called len function. Let's say I'll say like data equal to len of, if I'm going to say tickers, and then let's say I'm going to print the data. If I'm going to print the data, what will happen? I'll be able to get the total number of values in that list. So how many symbols are there? Total 4 symbols are there. I'll be able to count the symbols also. Why only 4 is there? Because we already removed 1. So already we added 1, it becomes 5. And now what we had in the tickers, we are having only Reliance, ICICI Bank, and HDFC Bank and Tata Steel. So only 4 elements is what we are having. So the length function will actually get me the total number of values in the list, right? So maybe I can use it same for the string also. I can use the same thing with the string also. Let's say, maybe I'll go here and let's say print len of the stock, print length of the stock. So if I'm going to say that, automatically it will print in numbers only. So it will count the number of letters. So it says total 19 letters are there. It prints so inside the Reliance Industries. In the Reliance Industries, it goes and prints the total length of the characters is what it gets counted and then it gets printed. So that is with length. This is also very important. Maybe tomorrow when we are doing for looping in pandas, you will appreciate that why we have to learn this len function. Len function is very, very important, particularly when it comes to programming advanced trading strategies. We may have to run something called a for loop. So I'm going to show you a for loop over here. A very basic for loop is what we're going to learn here. So obviously I'm going to delete this one. So mistakenly it got created at the top. Just scroll down, click over here, and then I'm going to click on the markdown. I'm going to say star for loop example. And then I'm going to put a star over here. So here I'm going to write an simple code is what I'm going to write here. So what I'm going to write here is I'm going to say stock equal to. So obviously we have the ticker values, right? So we have the ticker values. Maybe I'll again get the same ticker values. Or maybe better, I'll write one more time. I'll say like stock equal to. So I'm going to write a list saying like, I'm going to put some 4 symbols to that. I'll say Reliance, comma, I'll say like TCS, comma, I'll say like Infi, comma, I'll say Power Grid. So 4 symbols is what I'm going to do. I got in my for loop over here. What I am going to do here is I'm going to loop through one by one is what I'm going to loop through over here. So listen carefully. This is something for the new programmers. This might be sounds a little tricky, but stay with me. I'll try to explain as simple as possible. So here what I'm saying here is like I'm going to say a for loop, and then I'm going to put a variable over here. I'll say like ticker in stock. Okay, that is what I'm going to say here. And then I'm going to put a colon along with that. And so, you know, right, colon means what? It initiates a code block. So if I enter, automatically automated intention will be given in this code itself. So you see that automatically intention has been given over here. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to print with a F string formatting. I'm going to say the name of the stock is, I'm going to print the ticker value over here. So try to understand this code before executing this code, right? I'll try to tell you what we are trying to do here. So now in this for loop, this ticker, so the ticker value is called as what? It's a nothing but a variable. We are initializing a variable over here, variable. A new variable we are introducing. And this is what we call as a sequence. The stock here is called as a sequence. It's called as a sequence. Now, as long as the sequence is not ended, it will keep on continuing. One by one element, it will try to execute in this element. So here we are having how many elements? So the 0, 1, 2, and 3. So what will happen is like first the sequence will be 0 and means it will try to extract the stock of 0 is what will get extract. And then the sequence will become 1. So first it will try to get the value of Reliance. And then sequence will become 1 in the next loop. So in that case, it will extract what? TCS. And then the sequence will become 2. It will extract Infi. And then the sequence will become 3. So it will extract Power Grid. It will extract Power Grid. So likewise, it will extract from 0 to the third element. It becomes 4, but I don't have any element in the 4. So it will get out of the loop here. So until then, it will be keep on looping inside. The same code will get executed for each and every element. It will get executed over here. So whatever I am having the data, the stock of 0 will be stored under a ticker, and that value will get printed. And then stock of 1 will get printed under it gets stored under the ticker, and that value will get printed over here. And it will be keep on printing all the values in the list element will get printed over here. So now if I try to execute this code, to see this code over here, I'm going to execute this code. So you can see that it is printing all the elements in the list over here, right? So this is one way that we can write. What we can also write here is, we can also write in a different manner that we can write. I'll show you how we can write it. I'm going to add another code. Now in this code block, I'm going to print the same value, but in a completely different manner. Instead, I'm going to use the length as a function over here. So the stock list is going to be the same thing. Okay. Instead of saying stock, I'm going to say length of stock. Length of stock will return what? It will count the number of values in the list. So obviously it is going to be what? Total 4 is the count. That 4 is the count I'm going to store under a variable called X, right? So how I am going to print here is, instead of saying ticker, I cannot say ticker here. I am having only X as a value here. So I'm going to say the stock of X is what I'm going to say over here. So remember the sequence. How the sequence goes here is, so what is the length of stock? If I'm going to print length of stock, what I'll get? Anybody? What I'll get in the length of stock? I'll be getting 4, right? I'll be getting 4 over here. So the sequence will be running like this. If I am using a sequence, the sequence will be going from 0, 1, 2, and 3. That is how it goes over here. Right? So automatically stock of 0 will get printed first. Stock of 0. So what will print? It will try to print the Reliance. And then it becomes a stock of 1. Stock of 1 will get printed. TCS will get printed over here. Likewise, Infi and Power Grid will get printed over here. Likewise, stock of 2 and stock of 3 is what? It get printed in this for loop over here. Very easy to understand if you know what is what. So what you have to remember here is, whenever you are writing any simple for loop, you have to remember that the first one is nothing but a variable. Variable here. Variable. And the second one, whatever that we are doing over here, this is nothing but a sequence. Sequence. Right? So if you know this, you can clearly write a simple for loop over here. Easily you can write a for loop over here. All right. So there is some small mistake I'm doing over here. What it says, I'm going to show you one more important thing. It is also a part of the data type, which I forgot to explain here. So let's say something called range. So if I say a range of 1, so the only thing what we had done the mistake here is like we tried to miss the loop over here. Let's say range of 4 means it will create a sequence. So it will create a sequence from 0 to 4 is what it will try to create a sequence. Right? So 0 to 4 is what it will try to implement. So what I have to implement here is like I have to implement the sequence in the form of range. So if I say range of here, so it will implement from 0 to 4 is what it will try to implement in that case. So now we can see that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is getting printed. But I don't want 0 to 3. What I want is instead I'll say the stock name is obviously the stock is the list over here, which I'm going to use a F string formatting. So in the F string formatting, I'm going to say with a placeholder value, stock of X is what I'm going to do here. Now, in this case, it should print the value over here. You can see that it is getting the value of the stock name is Reliance. It is getting the value stock name is TCS. The stock name is Infi, and the stock name is Power Grid, right? So it is now trying to get those values is what we are trying to get over here, right? So that we will able to fix it up over here. So when it comes to range, right, there is different types of ranges there. We can say 0, 4. So if I'm going to give, it will try to get me a range of 0 to 4. Most likely, it will help us to create the sequence over here, right? So range is also one form of a special data type when it comes to Python. All right, coming back to the topic here. So now let's move little forward. So what we are going to discuss now is like we're going to discuss about a very important topic. Probably we're going to learn about dictionaries is what we're going to learn here. All right. So I'll say a markdown and I'll say dictionaries, star, dictionaries. A dictionary value will be looking something different from the list. So it will be looking like with a key value pairs. So dictionary will be mostly, let's say I'll double click, I'll say like it's going to have a key value pairs. Key and value pairs. Key and value pairs. So that is how a dictionary will look like. A sample data, I'll show you how it looks like. Some reason it is not getting converted. So I'll put the star at the end. So I'll try to put an example over here. I'll say data equal to, so it will be starting with a flower bracket. Now inside the flower bracket, right, I'm going to have an dictionary over here. So the dictionary will be looking like this. I'm going to say have an symbol over here. I'll say symbol. So symbol is the key value. And along with that, every key will be having some value. The value I'm going to say like Reliance. Reliance colon. Along with that, I'm also going to say comma. I'm going to say like what? I'm going to say the company name, company name, okay, equals without space, colon. The value of the key is like Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries. And then comma followed by that, I'm going to give a value called year. So which year it got founded, maybe I'll say like colon 1957. Of course, it is not a text content, it's a number. So I'll just simply say like 1957 is what I'm going to print over here. So here, if I try to print the data, so obviously I have to use a coding snell. Instead, I was using a markdown. So let's say I just delete this block. I have to open a code block here. Then let me paste it over here. So if I try to print this, automatically I'll be able to get the key value pairs. So here the key is what? Symbol, and the value is nothing but what? Reliance. So likewise, key is company name and the value is Reliance Industries. Key is year and the year value is 1957. If I want to access the value over here, so what I have to say here is like, let's say I will say print, let's say I want only the symbol value. In that case, I'll say data of, inside the thing, I'll give a name quotation and say symbol. So automatically, if I give the symbol and I'll execute, this will get me the only the Reliance value. Okay, maybe some people may not be able to see the lower part. I just move it up a little. Right, so now we can see that the print of data of symbol will actually get me the symbol value of the inside the data. I'm searching only the symbol value. So whatever is corresponding to the key symbol, I'm passing the key here. And what I'll get is that in return, I'll be getting the value of Reliance over here. That is what I'm getting over here. So it's again a special data type in Python, and it is heavily used in financial markets, particularly when building and software codes. Most of the times you'll be ending with the dictionaries. So you may have to play with dictionaries. Sometimes the dictionaries might be even complex dictionary values you may also get. Sometimes you may have to loop through the dictionaries also. If you want to loop through the dictionaries, I'll show you how you can loop through the dictionary. So you have to say for, I'll say X in data. Of course, the data is a sequence. So here the sequence will be automatically going from one key to another key is what it's going to print. Actually, what we want is the key value. So I'll put a colon over here and then type enter. Now I'm going to say print. I'll put an F string formatting, obviously. I'll say the key value is, so the key value is, I'm going to put an placeholder. What I want to print here is I want to print the X value. So whatever is stored in the X variable, I want to print it out. So that will print what? That will get me the key value over here. Okay. And using the key value, I want to extract the, so I'll be getting what? I'll be getting the symbol, I'll be getting the company name, I'll be getting the year. That is what I'll be getting in the X value over here. Now, using the X value, I want to retrieve the key value also. I want to retrieve the Reliance, I want to retrieve the Reliance Industries, I want to retrieve the 1957 value. So in that case, what I have to say? And the key value, I mean, keys, we had seen that, and the value is, which is nothing but the data of, within the square bracket, I want to say X. You see that inside the data, I'm passing what? I'm passing the key value over here. So whatever the key value that I am extracting, that key value is what I'm passing inside the data variable. In that case, automatically it should loop through that and then it should say what? I would say that the key value is symbol and the value is Reliance. So I'm able to extract the key value also. I'm able to extract the value also. I'm able to extract in this specific code over here, right? So very simple stuff, and but very, very important stuff, particularly when you are writing complex coding. Sometimes the data might be as complex as possible. Let's say sometimes what happens is like you might be having something called nested dictionaries. So we'll talk a little bit about nested dictionaries over here. So I'm going to talk about nested dictionaries. Now, when it comes to nested dictionaries, what I'm going to say here is like, let's say I'm going to have data equal to, I'm going to have a dictionary. Inside that, I'm going to have multiple dictionaries, what I'm going to have over here. So let's say I'm going to have a stock value here, Reliance. Okay. Along with that, I'm going to have inside the dictionary, I'm going to have one more dictionary inside that. So already I'm having a dictionary. It's like dictionary inside a dictionary is what I'm going to have. So here, what I'm going to have here is like, I'm going to have the company name. So name of the company, I'll put a colon, I'll say it is Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries, all right, comma, followed by that, I'm also going to get the price of the stock. So the price of the stock is, of course, it is in a round number. I'm going to put some round number over here. 2700 is what I'm going to say here. So this is with the Reliance. And let's say I'm also going to have another element in the dictionary. I'm going to say like infi colon. Inside that infi, I'm having another dictionary over here. I just simply call it as like name. All right. The name is going to be Infosys. And the price, I'll say like the price. I'll say like 1650 is what I'm going to give here. And let's say followed by that, another last element in the dictionary, which I'm going to call it as TCS. Inside that, I'm opening another dictionary inside. So I'll call here like name colon, I'll say Tata Consultancy Services. Tata Consultancy Services. Okay, comma. I'll say like price is going to be, let's say like 3,800, something like this. So now we can see that we have we have a main dictionary. Inside the dictionary, we have a lot of sub dictionaries. What I'm having. Let's say if I want to extract only this block, if I want to extract only this block, what I have to say? Very simple. I have to print data of Reliance. I have to pass inside that. I have to pass simply the key is what I have to pass. So what is the key here? Reliance is the key. So here Reliance is the key. Inside the key, instead of having a value, I'm having another dictionary itself. So if I try to print the data of Reliance, this is the value. This is the value for the key Reliance. So automatically I'll get the value. The value is nothing but another dictionary. Right? So I'll be getting the dictionary over here. You can see that I'm getting this complete dictionary is what I'm having over here. Reliance is the key. I'm passing into the data. I'm passing the Reliance as a key. So I'm getting the value of that. Right? But what if I want to get the stock price of 2,700 alone? I don't want Reliance. I don't want the entire dictionary. Inside the dictionary, I want only 2,700. Now, in that case, what I have to do here is I have to pass both the keys I have to pass. Let's say if I pass only Reliance, what I'll get? I'll be getting the entire data, right? The entire dictionary is what I will get. Now, in that dictionary, I'm going to pass another key over here. I want the price alone. So if I say like that, now what will happen is like the first one, you can see that it extracts the complete dictionary. Now the second one, inside the dictionary, get me only the key value of the price alone. So I'm passing the key as price and I'm getting the value of 2,700 over here. So likewise, if you know the structure, accordingly, you should be able to fetch the value. For example, let's say if I want to fetch only the TCS price over here, I have to say what? I will be printing the, or I want to get the TCS name. Let's say the Tata Consultancy Services is what I want to print. In that case, I'll say data of. So data of, inside that I'll print what? Inside that I'll print TCS. I'll be sending the key as TCS. Along with that, I'll also send the name is what I'm going to send it over here. Right. So if I'm going to send this, now what I will get printed, automatically I'll be getting the Tata Consultancy Services is what automatically I'll be fetching over here. Right. So that is something very important when it comes to fetching the dictionaries. Likewise, we also have tuples. We also have set. Maybe let me walk you through those things. So we learned about list. We also have tuple or tuples, right? So when it comes to tuple, right? So it is very similar to list. It is also one form of a list only. But the only thing is like you cannot change the list. That is the only difference between a list and a tuple. In list, we can change after the creation, but whereas in tuple, we cannot change the creation at all. So here also we can store multiple values. We can store different values. We can store it over here, right? So here we are representing with a stock symbol. We are representing with a quantity. And we are also representing with the date as well. So that is with tuples. Then we had learned about dictionaries. So another important one is called as a set. So set is all about a unique collection, unordered collection of unique elements. So when it comes to list, right, we can have duplicate values, whereas when it comes to set, we cannot have duplicate values. So when it comes to set, right, we have, we'll be using the curly parenthesis. I mean, the flower bracket is what we'll be using over here. Whereas when it comes to tuples, we'll be using the curvy parenthesis is what we'll be using over here for tuples. For list, we'll be using a square brackets, right? So remember this, because more or less everything will be looking confusing. For list, we'll be using a square brackets. For tuples, we'll be using a curvy parenthesis, something like this. And for something like set, we'll be using a square bracket is what we'll be using over here, right? So that is the difference between list, dictionary, set, and tuples. So list, set, and tuples looks more or less similar. You can differentiate only using the parenthesis. Another important thing, what differentiates from the dictionary is like dictionary only will have the key and values. So we'll be having a key value pairs is what that will be differentiating the dictionary here. All right, so now we'll move on to the next important thing. We also looked into the if-else structure. We also looked into the for loop over here. So we also looked into slicing. So we learned about slicing in Python also. We learned about how to do the slicing in using the string operations. We learned about the list operations. We also learned about the basic syntax, the start, end, and step. We learned that. Now we're going to move into the very, very important concept called user-defined function. Let's say when it comes to user-defined function, I'm going to write my own function is what I'm going to write here. So maybe I'll pull up the code over here. I'm already having the code. I'll go to file, open folder. I'll go to my documents. I'm just kept my files under the Python folder. Inside that, I'm having Python for traders. Oops, I'm just trying to open a folder here. All I need is I want to open the file. File, open file. Go to documents. I'll go to Python. From here, I'll go to Python for traders. So I'm having a code called maybe I don't have the code at all. All right, doesn't matter. We'll try to write our own code. Should not be a big deal. I thought like I might try to save some time there, but doesn't matter. We'll try to implement our own code. So I'm gonna create an simple code for writing a function. So very first thing that we have to learn about writing a function is like declaring the function. So first is all about declaring a function. So we have a lot more functions, right? We had seen print function, we had seen a couple of functions like upper function, lower function. So these are inbuilt functions. But what if I want to write my own function over here? Let's say I want to write a simple function calculating the, for example, here in this example, what we are doing, we are trying to calculate the area over here. So first I'm thing is like I'm defining the function here. So defining the function, I'm saying def. I'm going to give a function name. My function name is area. Inside that, I'm going to say, I'm going to accept two parameters. So I'll give some parameter name. I'll say like length and width is what I'm just going to give here. Length and width. Now I'm going to put a colon over here. The colon represents what? I'm going to write a code block. So here I'm going to write the value. I'm going to calculate the value of the area. I'm going to put a variable called result. So result equal to area into, sorry, length into width. Length into width is what I'm going to use over here. So whatever the value I had calculated, that is what I'm going to return over here, return the result part. Okay, so the calculation of the area is done. So next is calling the function. So I'll also define the value over here. I'll say length equal to 10, and then I'll say width equal to 20. And I'm going to say, I'm going to put an F string formatting. So I'll print with an F string formatting over here. Say print with an F string. I'll say the value of the area is. I'm going to put an double quote. I mean, I'm going to open the parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, I'm going to call the function. I'm going to say area is a function. Inside the I'm just calling the function. I'm passing the two parameters. What are the parameters? I'm passing the length. I'm also passing the width over here, right? So actually what we are trying to do here, there are two things that we are doing over here. One is we are declaring the function, and another one is we are calling the function. And instead of putting a variable, I'm directly calling the function over here. See, I can also write like this. What I can do is like I can say data equal to, I can call the function over here, area of length and width, and then I'm plot the data. That is what I can do here, right? If I do here, what will happen? Automatically, the value of the area is getting printed over here. Now, what will happen, I'll tell you in this case. So we are sending 10 and 20 is what we have. It's called passing the parameters. The 10 will go and sit in this width, and this value 20 is the value will be going and sitting in the width over here. Calculation will happen. The calculation is nothing but what 10 into 20, and that calculated value will be returned back over here. It will get returned back where the function is getting called. Okay, so thereby we'll be able to get the area over here. So what is the ultimate idea behind this function is like we'll be able to write this code once, and we can able to reuse the code anywhere else in your Python program. Sometimes you may have to calculate a certain value repeatedly again and again in your multiple function. So you write a function once, and you can reuse the code in your multiple code. You'll be able to use those codes. So instead of having this data equal to length of, instead of calling like this, what I can do here is instead I can directly use it over here. If I'm going to do it, I can also inside my placeholder, inside the f-string formatting, I'll be able to access the function also. Inside that, the output should remain the same. You can see that the value of the area is 200. That is the output I am getting in this case also. All right, so let's move a little forward over here. Let's say I'll try to plot a function which returns multiple values. So here a function is returning what? Only one value. Here a function returns single value. So this does what? Function returns single value. Now what we are going to do here is we're going to write a function which returns multiple values. So I'm going to say like a function which returns multiple value. I'm also going to show you one of the live coding which I had done, where I had computed an indicator called half trend, where I had implemented a function which returns multiple value. I'm going to show you that. Before that, we'll see a simple example. We'll understand the example here. Then we'll try to implement. I'll show you the live coding what I had done, so that you'll get a fair idea how it is used practically, how it has been used. Okay. So let's say I'm going to use a function called a min-max function is what I'm going to define. It's a function which is going to retrieve me. I'm going to pass two values. So it's going to get me the minimum value, and also the maximum value is what it's going to get over here. So I'm going to say like get min-max function. Okay, that's a function name. I'm going to pass two values inside. Okay, or I'm going to pass a list of, let's say I'm going to pass a list is what I'm going to pass. Instead of numbers, I'm going to pass a list over here. I'll say like it is going to be a list. So list underscore data is what I'm going to say. List underscore data. Okay, that is what I'm going to say. I can also simply say list also. Doesn't matter. So this is going to be a function. So I have to put a colon, and that will start my coding block. I'm going to say min underscore value equal to, I'm going to use an inbuilt function called min function is what I'm going to use. That will be helping me to get the minimum value. So minimum value of the list. So whatever the value of the list I'm getting, it will fetch me, it will search in the entire list, and it will get me the minimum value. And then max value equal to, I'm going to get the maximum value from the list is what I'm going to get over here. So basically we are simply trying to define the function over here. And what I want to return here is I want to return the min value also. I want to return with a comma separated. I also want to return the max value also, max underscore value. All right. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create the list. I'll say numbers equal to I'm going to create a list. I'll say some random numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, comma 1, 2, 3, 4, comma 3, 3, 3, 3, comma 2, 3, 4, 5, comma 3, 4, 3, 4, comma 4, 3, 4, 3. Okay, this is the list I'm passing over here. This entire list. So whatever the list I had coded over here, this entire list I'm going to pass it into my function over here. So I'm going to say minimum, comma maximum equal to, I'm going to call the function over here. I'm going to say get min max. So get min max is a function name. Inside the function, I'm going to pass the argument called numbers. Okay, numbers is what I'm going to pass over here. Now, in this case, what will happen? So listen very carefully. In this case, what happens, I'll tell you. In this case, I'm passing this list, entire list, I'm passing over here. I'm passing under the variable numbers only, but when it is reaching, when I'm calling the function, automatically it will be transmitted to the list. So from here onwards, inside the function, it will remember only the list, not the number. So number is what I'm passing externally, I'm passing as a number. It will be saved under the list. So list contains what? So list contains the same value. So what are the value that we are having over here? So all these list is what? It will get transmitted to the function over here. Now inside the list, I'll be able to get the minimum value. So obviously the minimum value is going to be what? 1, 3, 2, 4 is the minimum value. It also going to fetch me the maximum value. So what is the maximum value here? 4343 is the maximum value over here. So it calculates those values under the min value and max value. That is what it get returned over here. So that will get returned, min value will get returned to minimum and max value will get returned to the maximum over here. Right? So if I try to print the min value and maximum value, obviously I should be get the proper results. Let's see, are we getting the results or not? So I'm going to print minimum. Maybe I'll say like I'll use a f-string formatting. I'll say like the min value is. I'll just put it in a parenthesis, in a placeholder is what I'm going to print over here. Likewise, I'm going to say print f-string formatting. I'm going to say like the max value is the maximum is what I'm going to use. So maximum. Okay. So now if I print, it should print the value properly, right? What I missed over here. It says undetermined string literal. Something is wrong with the F here. Yeah, I'm just missing a quotation over here. That's what the problem here is. So when you miss a single quotation, probably whenever I'm opening a quotation, I also should close the quotation. If I forget to close that, obviously it will throw an error here. I'll try to execute. Now you can see that it is fetching the minimum value properly. It is also fetching the maximum value over here properly. Now, how it is useful, I said like I'm going to show you a very interesting example. So recently I had done and implemented a strategy called half trend. So maybe I'll show you. Market calls, half trend, Python. Right. So here I had implemented a simple function here for calculating an indicator called half trend. Half trend is a very popular indicator. It's a very popular indicator in TradingView and all. So in order to calculate that, you have to do a lot of computation over here. So you can see that I'm passing in half trend. I'm saying I'm getting 3 input values. So data and amplitude equal to 2 and channel deviation equal to 4. Now, what does this means over here is in this case, you can see that I'm having 3 values. So earlier we straight away declare the variables, but here I'm getting amplitude equal to 2 and channel deviation equal to 2. Now, what does that means is, so these are optional parameters. If I'm going to say like that, these are optional parameters or optional arguments. Means I can, when I'm calling, I just simply say half trend. I can pass data, I can pass some data is what I'm passing over here. And then I can pass 2 and 4. Like this also I can pass, or maybe 3 and 5 is what I'm passing. Let's say I'm 3 and 5 is what I'm passing. If I don't pass 3 and 5, let's say I'm just simply passing half trend and I'm simply sending the data. If I am sending the data, what does that mean is automatically it will fill 2 and 4 along with that. I just simply call half trend of data only, but it adds the optional parameters, default parameters 2 and default for parameter 4 will be automatically taken automatically from there. If I specify 3 and 5, automatically the amplitude will become 3, channel deviation will become 4, I mean 5 over here, because I'm passing the 3 over here and 5 in case of channel deviation. But if I don't pass, if I pass only the data, because the other one is the optional parameter, automatically it picks up the default values over here, right? So I'm doing a lot of computation over here. I'm just doing a lot of high-low close operations. I'm computing the upper band and lower band, and a lot of operations I'm doing over here. And finally, you can see that what I'm trying to do. I am trying to send, I calculated 5 values. I'm calculating trend over here. I'm calculating upline. I'm calculating downline. I'm calculating ATR high. I'm calculating ATR low. So that is what I'm doing over here. I'm just sending, I'm returning 5 values. Now, in the example, what I had showed you only 2 values over here, whereas here we are transmitting 5 values. All the 5 computed values, I'm returning back to the function. So if let's say in this case, so this is where I'm just calling the function over here. See that a half trend, I'm passing the data, I'm passing the amplitude, I'm passing the channel deviation, and I'm getting all the 5 values. All the 5 values I'm storing under 5 different variables before plotting those values. So later on, what I'm trying to do, I'm using some Plotly as a library, and then I'm plotting those candlestick over here is what I'm trying to plot. Maybe more on that we'll see in our upcoming session. We have one more specialized session on data visualization. There we will be learning more about that. All right, so what is the time now? I think we already slipped more to that. So maybe I'll do one thing. I'll stop here. In fact, I thought like I'll try to explain more concepts about that. Because of the timing constraint, I will stop here. Maybe we'll try to continue in our tomorrow session. Tomorrow session, we'll look into libraries, a lot more interesting libraries. We'll look into that. And we're also going to look into NumPy and Pandas function is what we're going to study in a very detailed fashion. NumPy and Pandas library are the most important library every trader has to learn. That is where you can build a lot more indicators. All your trading strategies are mostly depends upon learning the NumPy and the Pandas only, right? So Pandas and NumPy are very simple libraries to start with. So tomorrow we'll try to understand what is a library, and from there on we'll also learn how to use NumPy and Pandas library, particularly for building indicators and strategy creation. How these indicators are helpful is what we're going to learn in tomorrow's session. So maybe I'll do one thing. Next 5 minutes, I'll take a couple of questions. So there is a chat box down there. You can also ask your questions there. There is also a Q&A section is also there. You can also ask your questions in the Q&A section also. So maybe let me take a couple of questions over here. So Durai Raj is asking, does this course contains machine learning also? Of course, I would like to, but the problem is like when it comes to Python, right, a lot more basic knowledge is required. So this course is only for the beginners who are very new to Python, or who are already having Python knowledge, but they want to learn from a market perspective is what they want to learn. So that is how, because tomorrow onwards, we'll be looking into slightly more complex stuff like NumPy and Pandas is what we're going to explore. So mostly from a trading angle only, we're going to explore from those perspective also. So we're not going to cover machine learning. But then I had written a lot of tutorials about machine learning, about Python, about building indicators, building strategies, backtesting. So everything I had written about that. So you can also go and search in the market call section. There you'll be able to get some, maybe I'll show you where you can get those details. So I do regularly write about Python. So if you go to market calls, you can go to the Python section. So there you'll be able to get the Python tutorials. What are the tutorials that I've been writing, you'll be able to read from here. Along with the coding, it has been presented over here, right? So all these are designed to be very simple tutorials only. So probably if you're a beginner, you want to know about machine learning, right? And then you want to implement some simple machine learning stuff, or you want to implement some simple scanners, simple visualization, some simple data visualization you want to do, or you want to do some simple back testing. So I've written a lot more interesting tutorials on that. So if you have time, just go and read it one by one. All right. Coming back to the next question. So Bindu is asking, do you have strategies? Of course, what are the strategies I'm writing? I do publish open source. I'm publishing it. So you can, if you are looking for strategies, you can stay tuned to the Market Calls blog. You can find a lot more interesting strategies there. So Manish Verma is asking some small request from my side. Please also show us how you can get the option chain data in Python tomorrow in NumPy and Pandas. I mean, I don't need to show tomorrow itself. Today itself, I can show you. In one of the article, I had written about how to fetch the data from the option chain, NSE India website itself, how you can fetch those data, and how you can plot the simple nifty options open interest monitoring tool. So what actually I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to download the complete NSE option chain of Nifty is what I'm trying to download here, right? And I'm using list, couple of lists. I'm putting the values inside the list, right? I'm looping through the record one by one and finally appending to the list. I'm getting the C value in one list and P value in one list. And finally, I'm plotting as a bar chart is what I'm trying to plot end of the. So I'll be able to get a bar chart, something like this. So where you'll be able to see where the highest open interest is, right? So you can go back and explore market calls. There you'll be able to understand how you can retrieve the NSE India option chain into your Python tool. So Bindu is asking at Market Calls website itself. Of course, yes, I do write up only in Market Calls website only. So you can get any strategies, whatever I had written so far, it will be available in the Market Calls portal itself. So Trader Wolf is asking what extra is Python going to help with trading? What other scanners or softwares backtests can't do? See, one thing about other scanners and backtests is like you have to pay for the tool, or maybe you have to get the license of the tool. One important thing about Python is like Python is free, right? You don't need to pay anything. You don't need to pay any license. You can still get quality data from the internet, or you can get quality data from your broker, right? That way you can able to use Python and you can build the tool what you want. So one important thing about Python is like you can't do machine learning with other tools. Here you can do machine learning. Here you can do a lot of data analysis, data visualization, which is not possible in other trading softwares per se, right? So Python also comes with a lot of statistical libraries. So if in case we want to build strategies based on technical indicators, easily it is possible. If you want to build indicators, or you want to backtest, a lot of backtest libraries are there, which maybe tomorrow I'll show you some of the backtesting libraries. And we also have various uh, statistical libraries are there. Complex statistics, complex mathematics can be implemented very easily using Python, using the Python libraries. You don't need to know those complex mathematics behind that. You just need to know how to apply your skills on top of the mathematics. How to call the function, how to call the library. Then automatically the computation will be done in the backend. So you don't need to worry too much about the mathematics here. Of course, if you're having a very good mathematics knowledge, is well and good. But Python had made the code in a very simpler manner. Even anybody who have a very basic Python knowledge can implement complex mathematics. So that is the ultimate success behind the Python community, right? That's why the Python community is big, because the coding is very simpler, very easy to understand if you know the intricacies of the Python programming. So Sunny is asking, will you also show Python using API from Zerodha or similar providers? There is a big difference from freely available data. Sunny, I can tell you, I had written a couple of programming based on Angel API broking. I mean, Angel broking had provided some data APIs. one of the article I had written about that. But in this tutorial, it will be very difficult to cover because we're going to cover only the basic parts. So we have only 4-part series. So mostly we will try to cover the basic concepts. So here we'll be trying to use only the free data. Mostly I'll be showing you how to extract the data from Yahoo Finance, how to extract the data feed from using a library called TV data feed. That will be a kind of an third-party library to fetch the data from TradingView. So that is what I'm going to show you. Otherwise, I'm not going to show any broker-based data, how to download. I'm not going to show you because of the limited time, because different broker, they have different format of data. So it is very difficult to show. But I had written some couple of examples how we can fetch the data from Angel. I'm also going to write an article about how to fetch the data from Upstocks. But once you know basic Python, you can go and write for any broker, you can write it, right? So it should not be a big deal. So Shyam is asking, please provide us the recording of the video. Of course, the recording of the video will be available. Maybe another 2 hours from here, you'll be automatically get the recorded video. So there is also question about, will you also show how to import historical data? Tomorrow I'll be showing you how to import the historical data, right? So because that is what we'll be playing with mostly with pandas. Definitely we need a solid historical data set. So tomorrow we'll be mostly playing with stock market historical data only, right? For that, we need to get to know the basics of Python and we need to know the data types. So that is what we had learned today. So there is also one more question from Sharat Kumar. His question is like, could you explore and create class for Deep Haven? I don't know what does that means. Sunny is also asking, will you also show Python using API from Zerodha? I think I already answered that. I'm not going to show any broker-based APIs. I'm not going to discuss in this course. So there is one more question from Abhijit. His question is like, can you please cover the execution modules also with Python 2? The code need to execute other with brokers, I mean orders with brokers. See, as I said, this particular tutorial is basic tutorial only. I had written a couple of tutorials about how you can execute with various brokers in my blog. You can go and please search it out. Otherwise, this tutorial covers only the basic part required to handle the libraries, the very basic thing which is required to write your own code, right? Of course, I know how to implement those things. I also been part of an algo platform called Algo Mojo. Sometime back, we had designed the platform, right? But in this course, as I said, we're not going to discuss about how to fetch the data from the broker API. We're not going to discuss about how to how to send the orders to the brokers, right? That is not going to be covered in this particular tutorial. We're not going to cover that. So Sunny is asking, what happens if we send the stock name to the user-defined function instead of the stock price? Will it throw error or to compute on the name? So it depends upon how we are writing the user-defined function. So if I am writing an user-defined function, what I am going to compute, what value I want to get, so that has to be designed upfront, right? Once it is designed, then only you have to create a function and you have to call those functions. Otherwise, if instead of passing a stock name, if I accidentally passing a stock price, I will get an wrong output only. Dibya Rajan is asking, does this course help me creating a trading dashboard like front-end softwares? I don't think we'll be doing more into the trading dashboards, right? But then the very basic thing is what we're going to cover over here, because we have a very limited time only. Within the 6 hours, we can only teach about the very basic concepts about Python data structures and libraries, how to use those libraries, data visualization. So I think that itself will be the basic foundation for this course. Okay, that is a mandatory thing to learn the next level of programming. Maybe if in case if you want to send orders to your brokers, if you want to send If you want to fetch the data from the data vendors, or maybe if you want to fetch the data from the brokers, definitely a strong knowledge of NumPy, SciPy, or probably something like a data visualization tool like Plotly, Seaborn kind of tools are very, very important. And basic knowledge of Python is very strongly required, so that you'll be able to build your strategies, you can build your dashboard. So these are the basic foundational course it is. So don't try to expect any advanced stuff. We're not going to do anything with machine learning. We're not going to interact with the broker APIs. We're not going to do anything with building a trading dashboard, something like a front-end software does, right? So those things are the next level of programming it is. So but what you can expect from this complete course is like the very basic foundation. From a trading perspective, you can definitely anticipate a lot more things. Will I be teaching any advanced course? I think not at this point in time, but maybe at some point in time, maybe I'm planning, maybe another 1 or 2 months from here, I'm planning for some advanced course. Not immediately at this point in time. So Sharath is saying like deephaven.io, this tool is for real-time visualization and querying. Of course not. We're not going to cover Deephaven in this course, right? We're going to use mostly Seaborn and Plotly is what we're going to use primarily. Plotly is a very interesting library. Likewise, Seaborn is also a very interesting library for visualization. Can you please come up with a plan to train end-to-end, including broker connection and strategies? I'm thinking, as I said, I'm already planning for that. But as I said, immediately I'm not planning. Probably in a month or 2 months from here, we'll be having an end-to-end course on complete automation, building dashboard, probably building something like creating a Telegram bot of your own, something like that. I'm having in my mind. All right. So where I can get the recorded session? That is a question from Mr. Parthiban. Parthiban, you can get the recordings. Will be automatically available in the platform. Probably another 2 hours from here, I'll be uploading it, and it will be get processed, and you'll be accessed from the same portal itself. And let me tell you, tomorrow also we will be having a session. So where we will be discussing about NumPy and pandas primarily, and also we're going to learn a lot more things about libraries, how to handle libraries. We're also going to use another interesting library called Y Finance. So tomorrow we'll be learning a lot more things about libraries. All right then. So let me pass here. We'll come back tomorrow. So same time, 7 o'clock, we'll be meeting and we'll be discussing about the NumPy, Pandas, and Yahoo Finance libraries. See you in tomorrow's session. Thank you.